What's going on, guys? This is the Club of the Man 1993 coming at you for another retro review in my WrestleMania series. This is the 8th video in this series as we are now on WrestleMania 8. We're going to look back at everything that happened at WrestleMania 8. And overall, kind of similar to what we got in WrestleMania 7. Started off really good, and then the second half it dipped. It wasn't really a strong second half of this show. But we still had a classic. We had two really good matches on this card, which did kind of, save the show a little bit. It was one of those WrestleManias where, I would recommend watching the first half at least, but not the second half. This pay-per-view did have one match that got cut from the card. I think it was the British Bulldog and, I can't remember the other guy's name I saw in the research as well, but this is the first WrestleMania that involved that. We cut back to 9 matches, though, on this card. The past several WrestleManias have been about 3.5 hours long. The next few are a little under 3 hours. This one was about 2 hours and 40 minutes. That's where we stick around for a while, and then eventually we get back to 4-hour WrestleManias. And this year, of course, we have the 5-hour WrestleManias. But we're not going to talk about that right now. Let's talk about WrestleMania 8. WrestleMania 8 took place on April 5th, 1992, at the Hoosier Dome in Indianapolis, Indiana. We started off with El Matador, who formerly known as Tito Santana, taking on Shawn Michaels with Sensational Sherry. It was Shawn Michaels' first WrestleMania match as a singles competitor since splitting up from Marty Jannetty, and they were the Rockers. And the match itself was pretty good. It was like a little bit of a table-setting match for Shawn Michaels as a singles competitor, I felt. Tito Santana didn't look too bad in this, but I do hear rumors that this was around the time where Santana was starting to wind down. He was on his way out. But I still thought he had a decent showing in this match as well. HBK just taking in the whole, just a sexy boy, thinking he's got it all heel, pretty much. And I think it worked out really well. Having Sherry with him after she broke off from Randy Savage last year when he reunited with Miss Elizabeth was an interesting pairing as well. So we'll see where the road goes. This was the start of the illustrious singles career for Shawn Michaels. We got a lot down the road. Took a hiatus for a while because of back issues. Came back eventually, though. And he just put on a show and had one of the best matches of all time, which we'll talk about that when we get to WrestleMania 25. Speaking of which, since the opponent for that pay-per-view was The Undertaker, we had the Mania Streak match number 2. The second match in Undertaker's career, we took on Jake the Snake Roberts. Undertaker won the match. The match was decent. It was nothing too spectacular. It was a little better than the first year. Next year's match, probably the worst one next year. We'll talk about it when we get there. The build for this feud was pretty good. Jake the Snake Roberts and Undertaker were kind of a tag team. He turned on Taker by trapping his hand in a casket. He also DDT'd on Paul Bearer. Again, people say this match was as good as I hoped for, but I still thought it was pretty decent. Undertaker gets the win. It was around the time also where Jake the Snake Roberts as well, I think, was getting ready to walk out the door of WWE. I think he went to WCW, I think. I can't remember, for a while as well. So I think his time in WWF was winding down. Significant thing about this match, though, is The Undertaker also did kick out of 2 DDTs. And this was during a time where the DDT was being used as a really strong finisher, unlike today where it has watered down. But we see Alexa Bliss and Bobby Roode using it these days as a finisher. So, I'm glad to see he's getting its prestige back, but for a while it was used as just like, a stun move, and people were kicking out of it left and right, so that was disappointing there. But, it still felt relevant with Jake the Snake Roberts. And this match, again, a lot of people don't think most of Taker's early matches were that great, but I just thought it was not solid, but still a decent match. I graded probably like a C+ overall, but it was a pretty good match between Jake the Snake and Taker. And then we get to our first classic of the night. The World Wrestling Federation Intercontinental Champion. It was Bret the Hitman Hart taking on the champion Roddy Piper. I believe Hart had lost the title to the Monty the previous year, like sometime over the past year, and then Piper beat him, And apparently also, a lot of people say that there was some blood in this match. And some people say that blood was really necessary because they didn't really feel it had that tension build. It was pretty much a face-on-face match. But the Hitman did want blood, so we did get some blood in this match. And then, it was pretty much, just like, a fan interaction match as well. Piper wanted to use the bell on the Hitman because it was a match that was really, putting a lot of prestige into the Intercontinental Championship, but it was really putting the Hitman on the map as a singles competitor, not having just like an average match as well. Because, better things even do come for the Hitman down the road. And Piper was about to use the bell on him, but the crowd talked him out of it, and Piper, just let the match finish the way cleanly, which Bret the Hitman Hart won. After the match, Piper did, raise Hart's hand as a sign of respect, which was a great moment, I'd say. And it was still an excellent matchup. One of the best Intercontinental matches I've seen, either this or the match between Randy Savage and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat we had a few years ago. Was really good as well. So these two are my top favorites so far for the Intercontinental title. The one thing I'm really interested to see is I believe it was HBK and Razor Ramon for your Intercontinental title down the line. That's a ladder match I heard a lot of people say was really good. Haven't gotten to watch it yet, so we'll see what happens when I get down there. But great performance as well by the Hitman and Roddy Piper. We had this really random 8-man tag match. It was the Mountie, Repo Man, and the Nasty Boys with Jimmy Hart taking on Sergeant Slaughter, Virgil, Big Boss Man, and Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Face team won. It was just an average match. It was more so because they're cutting back on how many matches are on the card. Just a match to get these people on the card. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't anything special. But it was just an average match. Then, this was not the main event. I mean, the main event, this pay-per-view was awful. But the reason why it was the main event was kind of understandable. But match-wise, this should have been the main event, I felt, after watching this show. It was for the World Wrestling Federation World Heavyweight Championship. It was Ric Flair with Mr. Perfect taking on, he's not the Macho King War, he's the Macho Man, Randy Savage. This was a really good match. These two literally went out there and convinced us that they hated each other. There was just a lot of high intensity in this match. Now, going back to what we said about the Intercontinental title match, how blood didn't feel necessary in that match, blood felt necessary in this match. These were two guys that were literally going out there and trying to kill each other. Ric Flair just being, the dirtiest player in the game as a heel he was, just pushing the buttons of Randy Savage so he wouldn't get the title off of him. He went as far as, threatening to show nudes of Miss Elizabeth as well. Just doing anything he can just to, get under Savage's skin. And throughout the match, they showed Miss Elizabeth backstage how they kept saying, she can't come out to the match, but she couldn't take Flair's insults anymore. She went out to the mat, went out at ringside. I think Flair did kiss Elizabeth, and Elizabeth did slap him, though. So he did anything he could. But then Savage would eventually win with a controversial ending, hooking the tights. But this match was just awesome. It was just typical storytelling. Two guys literally in there that hate each other, trying to kill each other. That's what it was. I believe these two did go on to have another one or two more matches after this at the next couple pay-per-views down the line after this. But this match was awesome. I really felt this could have main evented the show. Rumors did have it. I can't remember. I got to read the details of why it didn't have it. It was supposed to be Flair and Hogan for the title, but that wasn't the case. As I guess there was rumors at the time that Hogan. We'll get to Hogan when we get to the main event. But then this is where again the show kind of tanked. We had Tatanka versus Rick the Model Martel. Tatanka won. Nothing really to talk about there. Was an alright match. It was really anything spectacular. Then we had the World Wrestling Federation Tag Team Championship match. It was Money Incorporated, Ted DiBiase, and the IRS taking on the Natural Disasters, Earthquake, and Typhoon. These two teams didn't really, have good chemistry working together. It was a really boring match. It was long, dragging. I wasn't really into it. I was playing stuff on my Game Boy Advance because I've, all of a sudden gotten hooked on playing that again. It's 2017. So, I mean, didn't really get much out of this match. It was kind of boring and pointless. We had a squash match. It was Skinner taking on Owen Hart. Hart won in a minute. Did its job. Put over Owen Hart as, the star he'd become. Unfortunately, he didn't get to, live it too long. Rest in peace, buddy. But I look forward to seeing the match against him and his brother at WrestleMania 10 after I get through the dreadful WrestleMania 9. And then we get to our main event. It was in a title match. It was Hulk Hogan taking on Psycho Sid Justice with Harvey Whippleman. This match was just not really that good. It was probably one of Hogan's worst matches. Probably the worst one I have seen so far out of this match. I mean, the bill wasn't too bad, but it was typical, Hogan was friends with Sid Justice. Justice went crazy, turned heel, and turned on Savage. I mean, I'm not Savage, on Hogan. We've seen this a lot happen, it happened between Hogan and Andre. It happened with Hogan and Savage, and now it's happening with Hogan and Psycho Sid. And then there was this match again, besides being boring, there was a big botch in this segment, and it really, was very random to see this person kick out of a Hogan's finisher, the leg drop. But Papa Shango was supposed to come out and interfere in the match and cause the DQ whenever Hogan went for the leg drop, and during the count he would come in and interfere and cause the DQ. But unfortunately, I guess he missed his cue or whatever, and it led to having to see Sid kick out of the leg drop, which it just didn't feel special and kind of random. He would eventually kind of just randomly start attacking Hogan, and the match ended in a DQ. Not a fan of, a main event of WrestleMania match ending in a DQ, especially, with the crowd we had as well. There was like 62,000, I think, in attendance. Big raise from the previous year when it was like only 16,000, but we're starting to get into, the bigger WrestleManias as far as, attendance wise. But again, the build for this match wasn't too bad. It's just, it should not have been the main event. It was bad. It was boring. Wasn't really one of Hogan's best. But I think the reason why they had it as the main event, what happened after the match, Hogan was being attacked. And then it was the return of the Ultimate Warrior, who had been gone for a while with contract issues, I believe it was. Warrior did make his long-awaited return, saving Hogan. They, stand in the ring as the show ends. Cool moment to see two of the best in the ring at the time, but this is really where people started getting sick of Hogan being the main event. I mean, the reason why Hogan was, I think, they made this match the main event was because, and also as I said before, I think it was supposed to be Hogan and Ric Flair fighting for the championship, but there was rumors of this being Hogan's last match, but he just went on a little bit of a hiatus due to the steroid scandal at the time. So that's why the match between Flair and Savage in the main event, I felt that should have probably main evented, but with the return of Warrior at the end, that, was, a nice surprise for the audience as well. But still, it didn't really end on that strong, Hogan has been, he's been in 6 of the 7. Seven of the first 8 WrestleMania main events. He was involved in the one that he wasn't in the main event for. So I know this is around the time people were starting to really get sick of Hulk Hogan. I think next year also he only wins the title in like 22 seconds. I think it was. We'll have to see what happens when I get to that. But that's how the show ended. Overall, WrestleMania 8, again, it started off really good, but then it just tanked afterwards and didn't really end on a good note. I mean, it was just a 2 hour and 40 minute show, so it was not as hard to sit through. If I have to give this a grade, I also want to give it a C+, because the 2 classics we had, most of the stuff was still like, bearable and satisfying, but just like the matches with the tag titles and the main event was really like terrible matches we got on this show. So that's why I'll give WrestleMania 8 a C+. What are your thoughts on WrestleMania 8, guys? Please leave your thoughts down in the comment section below. Please be sure to also click that like and subscribe button for more content to come on this channel as well. Next we got WrestleMania 9. And I'm not looking forward to it because I have never watched it, but everybody says that this is probably the worst WrestleMania of all time. So we'll see what happens when I get there. I'll hopefully watch that today. As it, guys, I'm checking out. Until then, guys, have a great day.